you have an Aquarius rising, it basically means that you have the sign of Aquarius in your first house. Basically, your rising sign is the most important placement in your birth chart. Why? Because it literally sets up the way that the entire birth chart wheel falls. Having an accurate birth time is really important in determining your rising sign, because even if you're just a few minutes off, it can change the entire configuration of what your birth chart looks like. So the first house, aka rising sign, is all about the self. It's all about the body, the self-esteem. It's all about the way that you carry yourself. It's all about your identity. And in traditional astrology, it represents the exact moment that your soul entered your body, aka your time of birth. So in simple terms, it's kind of like your soul. It does rule over your appearance and how you act. Aquarius risings, I've noticed, are always very interesting to look at. You know, they always look a little different, and especially if you were born in Gen Z, you most likely have Uranus and Neptune in your first house. Now, what's really important is that those are outer planets, and the first house is one of the angled houses, aka the 4 most important houses in your birth chart. First house being self, 4th house being family, 7th house being the other, and 10th house being the career and public reputation. So Uranus is a planet that rules over Aquarius. Actually, Uranus rules over very shocking innovations, very random things happening, innovative type of change, just random innovative change. Just think about that when you think of Uranus. Now, Neptune rules over confusion. It rules over illusion, but also creativity, but also addiction. Something that I've noticed is that a lot of celebrities tend to have Neptune on like an angled house. So I think wherever Neptune is in your birth chart just kind of shows you where people are interested or mystified by your life. Ariana Grande has her Neptune conjunct to her ascendant, actually. Like, it's basically right on top of her rising sign, and obviously people are very curious about her life. Basically, the way that it applies for you, if you do have Neptune in the first house, is that people are always going to be a little bit curious about who you are. Like, they're never going to completely have you figured out. Now, the energy of Aquarius is stereotypically very quote-unquote weird, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's in a bad way. Aquarius energy is very necessary. It's just a breath of fresh air. Aquarius people think very differently than other people do. In a traditional astrology, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and in modern astrology, it is ruled by Uranus. And I, as an astrologer, like to look at both of them. Saturn energy is very stable. It's very hardworking. It's very disciplined. Uranus energy is very innovative. It's very quick to change. So whenever you combine both of these, you get that Aquarius energy. Aquarius is a fixed air sign. Fixed signs are not a huge fan of change unless they're the ones initiating it. And the thing about Aquarius is that they are always thinking of how something can be better, always looking towards the future. Some celebrities who have Aquarius risings are Khloe Kardashian. She's got her Saturn in her Scorpio 10th house and her Uranus in her Sagittarius 11th house. We've also got Zendaya. She's an Aquarius rising. We just recently got her birth time. Her chart rulers are her Saturn in her 3rd house of Aries and her Uranus in her Aquarius 1st house. And then we've also got Nicki Minaj. She's also an Aquarius rising, and she's got her Saturn in her Scorpio 10th house and Uranus in her Sagittarius 11th house, just like Khloe does. Obviously, the aspects that Saturn and Uranus are making in your chart are going to have a huge impact over you because those are your chart rulers, aka some of the most important planets in your birth chart. They're going to give you a bigger picture of your life story, your identity, whether you have identity issues or whether you walk through life with confidence. All of that depends on aspects between Saturn and Uranus and the houses they're in, the signs they're in, the aspects they're making to other planets. So directly opposite the 1st house of self is the 7th house of the other. In traditional astrology, the 7th house is all about marriage and it's all about partnerships, but in more modern astrology, we kind of look at business partners as well in the 7th house, but just romantic interest. In my opinion, I think the 7th house represents your type. So the type that Aquarius people tend to attract and be attracted to have Leo energy. Leo energy is very vibrant, it's very creative, it's very fun, it's very outspoken, it's very unapologetic in who it is. And that's basically what Leo and Aquarius have in common, you know, very unapologetic about who they are. The house that you have Leo in is kind of like the area that you shine the most. Aquarius risings might find themselves getting a lot of attention from their partners or engaging in like a power couple type of dynamic. But the thing about the sun is that it's like the brightest star in the sky, right? So naturally when people look at Aquarius rising, their eyes are going to gravitate towards the area of life that shines the most. And in their case, it can be their partnerships or marriages. The house and sign that your sun is in is going to give you a lot more information on this 7th house partnership energy that Aquarius have. Aquarius risings also have a Pisces 2nd house. So the 2nd house is kind of like your bank account. It's the house in your birth chart that rules over money. It rules over your relationship to food, your relationship to how you handle money, your self-worth, your morals, your values, material things that you value. Having Pisces in the 2nd house can kind of mean that Aquarius risings are very emotional spenders. Pisces is a very emotional sign, and the energy of Pisces is very self-sacrificial. So Aquarius risings might find themselves just like giving money to people that they feel like need it more, which kind of lines up with the fact that Aquarius energy is very humanitarian, of course. And also Pisces is ruled by both Jupiter and Neptune. Jupiter is the planet of good luck, of abundance, you know, wherever it is in your birth chart, it expands that area with good luck. But Pisces is also ruled by Neptune, which is the planet of confusion, delusion, creativity, and also addiction. So Aquarius risings might have a bit of an addiction to spending money, particularly on clothes or makeup or like things that deal with the body, if you're Gen Z and have Neptune in your 1st house, but it really just depends on your individual chart. Now, directly opposite the 2nd house is the 8th house. The 8th house is a very hidden area of the birth chart. It rules over spirituality. It also rules over money that you gain from other people. So the 2nd house rules over more of like your bank account, and the 8th house is more of like the deposits and the charges on your bank account, if that makes sense. You know, 8th house rules over sudden losses, sudden gains, you know, gambling to an extent, but also the 8th house rules over your sexuality. Aquarius risings are going to find themselves very sexually attracted to Virgo energy. Virgo energy wants to make everything perfect, but also Virgo energy is very innocent. So no matter how sexual of a person an Aquarius rising is, they're always going to have a slight air of innocence to them, no matter what it is they do. Having an 8th house that is ruled by Mercury means that the people that you get in bed with you need to be smart, at least to some extent. Like they need to be able to have like a really good intellectual conversation with you. And obviously that's not a requirement for everyone. Aquarius risings would probably be shocked to hear that, but not everyone is interested in making sure that their sexual partners are very intellectual. Another way that this can kind of manifest is by being very intellectual about your spirituality, like kind of like just rationalizing your emotions, because the 8th house is a very emotional and very deep transformative place. Kind of like rationalizing your emotions, you know, not necessarily feeling them, but more of just like, okay, this happened. Kind of like compartmentalizing your feelings in a way. Now, Aquarius risings also have Aries in the 3rd house. The 3rd house rules over your siblings, your neighbors, the way you communicate, the way that you travel, the way that you learn, all sorts of things. But for this video regarding the 3rd house, I'm mostly going to be focusing on how people communicate. Aquarius risings tell it how it is. Aries energy is very blunt. It's very passionate. It is not here to sugarcoat anything or save any feelings. Very blunt, straightforward, to the point. You have Mars ruling over your 3rd house, so the very blunt energy in your communications can kind of start up arguments sometimes, but at the end of the day, you don't give a fuck. Now, directly opposite the 3rd house is the 9th house of long-term travel, communication, and it's sometimes referred to in astrology as the house of God because it rules over everything that you believe about this lifetime. Like, do you believe in God? Do you not believe in God? Do you have a religion? Things like that. The 9th house also rules over college and academia and teaching, and also social media to an extent. So having Libra in the 9th house means that Aquarius risings kind of almost have this talent when it comes to teaching people, because Libra is one of the air signs and it is very good at being amicable in communication, you know, making sure that everyone is happy while still teaching the information correctly. Another way that Libra in the 9th house can manifest, Libra is the masculine planet ruled by Venus, and it kind of rules over that like curated beauty. It's less of the natural beauty of Taurus, and it's more of the, you know, beauty that you get once you're all dressed up and once you're all ready to go out. Aquarius risings might find themselves going through like a bit of a glow up period whenever they go on vacation or whenever they learn a completely new skill, which is also what is ruled by the 9th house. Aquarius risings also have a Taurus 4th house. So the 4th house is the house of the home, family, private life, and the thing is, it's not hidden like the 8th house and the 12th houses are. It's just at the very bottom of the birth chart, so it's seen by the least amount of people in your life. So obviously Aquarius risings are most likely very loyal to their family members because the energy of Taurus is very loyal. It is also a sign that is ruled by Venus. Aquarius risings probably experienced a lot of harmony in their childhood, or they tend to expect harmony in their home and family life. Obviously this isn't the same for everybody because it really just depends on what your Venus sign is and the house it's in and the aspects it's making to other planets and so on and so forth. Having a Taurus 4th house can also just mean that a lot of your family members have Taurus placement. But in general, you expect to have a good time whenever you're around your family. Now, directly opposite the 4th house is the 10th house. The 10th house is the most seen area of your birth chart, literally seen by everyone. It is the version of you when you're on social media. It is the version of you whenever you go to a party. It's your public image, it's your reputation, but it's also your career. Having Scorpio in the 10th house of public image might make you seen as someone who's very sexual. But the sign of Scorpio is also just very powerful. Scorpio is ruled by both Mars and Pluto. And like I said, Mars does rule over, troublesome type of things. It can cause a lot of arguments. But Mars is also where you assert your power. And also having Scorpio in the 10th house, other people may see you as someone who's wealthy, like even if you're not. But you also might be seen as someone who is very powerful. And the thing is, with Pluto ruling over Scorpio, Pluto rules over the extremes, like where you're either really powerful or really not powerful. So people might see you as either one of those. Also have Gemini in their 5th house. The 5th house is all about fun. It's all about creativity, creative projects, how you express yourself creatively, how you have fun. It's all about romance and your sex life and your children. So having Gemini in the 5th house means that Aquarius risings are more than likely to be sexually attracted to people who have Gemini placements. And the way that you have fun is by going out socializing, going on a short trip somewhere, or maybe even spending time with your siblings, because Gemini energy does rule over sibling energy. Once again, you have a sign ruled by Mercury in one of the houses dealing with sex. So once again, reinforcing the fact that Aquarius risings need to have an intellectual sexual partner in order to have fun. You also might end up having a child who has a Gemini placement, or your relationship with your children might be very Gemini-like, and you guys might have very open communication between all of you guys and very adaptable to each other. Now, directly opposite the 5th house is the 11th house. The 11th house rules over networking. It rules over your long-term friendships. It rules over communities, like people who think very similarly to you. So for example, if you belong to a certain church, or if you belong to the spiritual community, or if you belong to the One Direction fandom, that falls underneath the 11th house. Aquarius risings are naturally going to gravitate towards Sagittarius energy whenever they're looking for a friend. Sagittarius energy is very curious, it's very passionate, which lines up perfectly with Aquarius energy. Now, if you're born in Gen Z, then you most likely have both Pluto and Chiron in this house. Pluto ruling over power, control, influence, transformation. Chiron is less popular of a planet, but it's actually an asteroid, and it rules over wounds and the healing that comes from those wounds. And a lot of people in Gen Z actually have Pluto, Chiron conjunct to each other in their birth chart. So the energy of the house that these planets are in your birth chart can almost be extra triggering in your life. With this being the 11th house of long-term friends, Aquarius risings might find themselves going through these really harsh power dynamics between them and a friend, or maybe a friend who triggers them, or a friend who might have did something to them that triggers them repeatedly. Now, the thing is that as much as Chiron rules over triggering, Chiron also rules over healing. So I think that Gen Z, or the generation that has this Pluto-Chiron conjunction, is more likely to heal all of their triggers and actually get to the bottom of this Plutonian energy than any other generation. Now, what does this mean for you though, is that maybe you've had a really rough time with your friends. Pluto rules over transformation, and since Pluto is here, you might have gone through huge transformations as you've changed your friend groups throughout your lifetime. But at the end of the day, this is still Sagittarius energy, which is ruled by Jupiter, which is a benefic in astrology, which is a planet that brings good luck and it brings good fortune, and it basically just wants to spoil you. So at the end of the day, despite your triggers with your friends, you still most likely have a very positive outlook on this area of life. Now, Aquarius risings also have a Cancer 6th house. The 6th house is all about work, it's all about your daily routine, it's all about your coworkers, your physical health, and even your pets. So having Cancer energy in the 6th house just means that you need to feel at home when you're at work. Aquarius risings might even find themselves working from home because of this. Aquarius risings need to find space in their day to honor their emotions, whether that's journaling out your emotions, figuring out what they are. Because as an Aquarius and an air sign, you guys have a tendency to kind of rationalize your emotions without necessarily feeling them. With having such an emotional sign like Cancer in the 6th house of daily living, if you can find a way to harness your emotions and honor your emotions, properly feel them, even if it's just 5 minutes a day to like sit there and actually think about what you're feeling, I think it'll make you a lot more productive throughout the day. Your 6th house is also ruled by your moon. So whatever your moon placement is, you definitely want to take a look. The house and sign that your moon is in is definitely going to reflect on your daily habits a lot more. Now, directly opposite of the 6th house is the 12th house. The 12th house is the house of the subconscious. It's very hidden. It rules over your mental health and also spirituality. Having Capricorn in the 12th house means that your subconscious or like your mental health can kind of feel like an uphill battle because Capricorn energy works its way to the top, right? Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which is the planet of time, and it's also the planet of hard lessons. Aquarius risings might have struggled with mental health issues at some point during their life. And the thing about Saturn is that it's slowly but surely building stability. And anything threatening that stability will be knocked down. Think of Saturn kind of like a hammer, like it's just building stability, right? And anything threatening that stability, Saturn will throw a hammer in it and break it in a way. If you're an Aquarius rising and you ever had an unhealthy attachment or like codependent on anything, you have probably felt like you've been forced to let go of that unhealthy thing. And while it might not feel so good in the moment, it is all for your benefit. Capricorn energy is also just very serious. And so with the 12th house ruling the subconscious, Aquarius risings most likely have a very serious internal environment. You know, even though Aquarius energy is obviously very fun, you guys are still mature at your heart. So that was your reading. Let me know in the comments down below what your chart rulers are. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But thank you, Aquarius risings, and bye.